Coming up on this edition of VCU In-Depth, documentaries from students in VCU's Robertson School of Media and Culture.
We'll introduce you to a Richmond radio station that marches to its own tune.
And we'll look at what's causing the growth and popularity of tattoos in Richmond.
VCU In-Depth begins right now. Good evening and welcome to VCU In-Depth. I'm Cassidy Hammond.
And I'm Sean Boyce. Thanks for joining us as we feature documentaries from undergraduate students in VCU's Robertson School of Media and Culture. There are more than 1,500 low-power FM stations in the United States. These stations often provide alternative programming that can't be found on commercial full-power radio stations.
For more than 13 years, WRIR 97.3 LP has been serving Richmond. Let's take a look at the people who make radio for the rest of us.
All right, it is 9 o'clock Sunday night. You're listening to WRIR LP 97.3 FM Richmond. This is Bill Ferry, host of Center Development. I will be here for the next 2 hours bringing you the best in ironic, esoteric, absurd, and obscure recordings. It's the best freeform radio show on the planet. I'm here with...
And it just felt like this is how humans are supposed to be. Everything's great about Richmond except, wow, the radio really seriously sucks.
12.
What we are at WRIR, we're a low-power FM radio station. Well, that's something that didn't exist until about 20 years ago. In the late 1990s, 1996, just after the Republican Revolution in Congress, they passed what was called the Telecommunications Act that allowed, for the first time ever, large companies to own more than one radio station in a single market. And it didn't take long for a whole lot of companies owning a whole lot of radio stations to become just a very few companies owning all the radio stations.
Radio was not something that I was interested in. It's not something that I was listening to because it was horrible. it was a bad, commercial, programmed, corporate medium.
I drove a car with a dead radio because Richmond radio was so bad. And this is back before the internet, back before MP3 players.
And it was the founder of our radio station was one of the key people lobbying Congress to create a way for communities to get on the air.
It turns out that there were 1,000 other groups all over the United States, left-wing and right-wing, all over the ideological map, that sent in formal comments to the Federal Communications Commission saying we want the low-power radio service to be established because it would be great for whatever their mission is. And they were all correct, it would. But when Tim Kaine accepted our desire for a resolution at Richmond City Council, he was on the FCC's Municipal Advisory Committee. So he knew all the jargon, he had kept track of all the controversy going back and forth within the FCC. He was the perfect person for the job. The FCC met and they passed it.
By 2004 or so, the radio landscape in Richmond was pretty dead. And so a group got started up called Radio Free Richmond, which was an internet radio station. And in 2004, I mean, this was like, a lot of people didn't even have internet back then. The next time that the FCC had a bunch of frequencies available, Chris Maxwell's organization was able to snatch one up and claim it as a low-power FM radio station. And so I got called up and put to a meeting where there was a bunch of really, really smart people in the room who had zero wherewithal on how to get things done. We set a date to set up the antenna on the roof. We had like a dozen, maybe 20 people showing up, climbing up a rickety ladder onto this roof, you know, in December, no less.
Literally on the roof of this building, climbing up a weird ladder on the back and hauling this thing up vertically into place.
All for the sake of getting this crazy little radio station on the air, just because that's how much people wanted to have another voice heard. And so we were actually able to get it up to the 80 feet or whatever, and we tied everything down and kind of stood back and watched. All right, this is gonna work. What I've done is just one of those 500 stories.
You're currently tuned into Happy House right here on WRIR, your local indie community radio station.
I have never DJed before. I've always just been a music enthusiast, and I always am searching out new music, and I honestly did not think that I was on the caliber of all the DJs here. The more I got to know everyone, the more I realized that everyone here is a music nerd in their own way. And it's the way that we all come together and provide an eclectic mix that makes WRIR what it is.
The one I do now, Friday Clock Out in the afternoons, a music show, I try to play music, if you imagine, if you're done with your work week and it's just like, I'm finished with this. Ching! This is just what's coming out of my head, what I'm finding out. And I actually do, I hope when I play something that somebody's gonna go, oh my God, what is that? I need to find out more about this.
The radio station is the culmination of the combined efforts of 200 volunteers, all working, doing behind the scenes stuff for that brief, for you to be able to be on the microphone in that moment. That is the result of the efforts of 200 people.
We don't run WRIR like most other nonprofits. So we're consensus-based. I'm the president, I'm no one's boss. We do things by group and make decisions together, so no one person, drives the boat in a sense. So we all work together to make it happen.
We do as much work as any other multi-million-dollar radio station, but we do it for free, and it still costs money. We're not getting paid. We're not selling advertisements.
The community supports us. We make our goal every year. We don't pay anybody, so we don't have that strain to keep salaries going. People here spend their time here because they love it and they want to do it.
It's been a really grounding force, for me as an individual, and I think for a lot of people within this community, and also, a helping force. I mean, the station not just throws things at people, but provides opportunities for people to learn about how to create things and how to do things and getting job experience.
I can be myself here more than I can in any other place. We create a platform for the community to be on.
You hear people's voices and they're part of where you're from, and it's different.
Sometimes you listen to WRIR and you know that these are your neighbors, these are your friends.
That are accepting of anyone and everyone. And I can bring people's voices out into the world and give them a chance to say the things that you need to say and tell their stories, because commercial radio just took that away.
You think radio's dead. People don't need it. They have Spotify, or they have their phone, or they're just picking songs out of the air. But it's not true, and it's a really good feeling, not from an old guy's point of view, but more from a yes, this message of music is getting through, this message of news.
Looking to find new listeners, and we enjoy that we are dedicated to the City of Richmond. The City of Richmond is our home. We're also looking to expand that, and so we're looking for ways to creatively and frugally expand our broadcast reach.
It's ephemeral. It changes based on the volunteers that are volunteering here.
I would want it to keep looking like what it looks like, and if it looks different, because of who's involved or what the community is and what the needs are, then that's what it is. I think what's incredible about WRIR is that it has been a completely organic entity.
I have no idea, but it's going to be good.
Through different ways we connect, that's the reason why I'm so happy our paths intersect. This trajectory of my career, it wouldn't be what it would be if it weren't for the people on 97.3. Yeah.
Where else can you play fart sounds on the radio?
Quality programming.
Nobody else does fart sounds like Seinfeld.
I'm Bill Oglesby, an associate professor in VCU's Robertson School of Media and Culture and the instructor for the documentary class. Joining me tonight are Coleman Jennings, Hannah Parker, and Devin Eiffel, who produced the Radio for the Rest of Us documentary, which was very interesting. It kind of evoked Seinfeld a little bit, and with a surprise ending.
Yeah, thanks.
Coleman, let me start off by asking you, were there some things that you thought you would include or wanted to include that you ended up not being able to?
Absolutely. I feel, you know, this is our longest form production ever, so yeah, we had to cut a lot. And there were a lot of great stories that the interviewees gave us, and unfortunately, the stories were longer than the whole documentary. So yeah, we had to cut a lot, unfortunately, but we still feel like it was a good.
When you're working on something like that, you really have to be thinking about how much time is it going to take out of the full 10 minutes.
Exactly.
And it adds up quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Hannah, let me ask you, how was creating this long form video different than some of the videos you've done in the past?
Well, I think I can speak for all of us when I say that we've only made short form videos by this point, about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. So that alone is different because you have to fill the time a lot more. But with that, we got to tell a story, which with short form you don't get to do as much. You just state the facts and then leave. We got to delve into these people's lives, really tell the story of the radio station, get to know the community, and really show that and show the audience what this radio station is all about.
Was that a challenge when you were, I mean, you got kind of tight quarters there, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, like Cohen was saying, we had about, when we first made it, it was about an hour long, and we had to cut it down to 10 minutes. It's really hard. And then we had some filming difficulties. We had to film in a really small recording booth, so we did everything handheld, which was partly a creative choice and partly we had to.
Okay. All right. And Devin, were there any surprises that you encountered when you were making this?
Yes, so we originally had an entirely different documentary planned. I think we were in the second week of pre-production and we realized it wasn't going to work out. So on a whim, we messaged the WRIR station email, and it was like Sunday evening, and at like 9 o'clock we got an email back from Carol, the president, and she was so eager to work with us, and she CC'd all of the volunteers at the station, and they all just kind of trickled in after that.
Okay, so from that point on, did it go pretty smoothly?
Yeah, basically we would just go to different DJs' shows when they were recording a little bit earlier and interview them while they were there. So it all kind of worked out.
Okay, well, good. Well, I've been speaking with Robertson School students and documentary producers Coleman Jennings, Hannah Parker, and Devin Eiffel. Nice job, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Oglesby. The popularity of tattoos as body art has increased enormously over the past few years. In a city as artistically focused as Richmond, you're more likely than not to run into someone with a tattoo.
Over the past 20 years, the growth and perception of tattoos has shifted dramatically to a more positive light. In this next documentary called Ink City, we take a closer look at the invasion of tattoos in Metro Richmond.
It's just part of your charisma. It's kind of an expression. It's a way you want to express yourself through art. It's an artistic expression, especially if you give it a meaning. I got my first one when I was 16. It was this owl and blue rose right here. It's the wisdom of mankind. So the owl is us behind the veil of the blue rose, which is kind of darkness, and us just living with, you know, everything that we can't control around us and just living our own true way. I'm taking my time on my tattoos, because I did rush into it rather quick, I feel, and I have a lot of time to process what I want to do, because I want to do a lot. I want to get a lot more done. When I first moved here 7 years ago, I was completely shocked, because I was like 13, 14. A lot of kids my age had tattoos. I came from Chicago, and in Chicago, you aren't allowed to get a tattoo till you're 18, and if you're under 18 and you have a tattoo, lots of times that means you're gang affiliated. It's a very different culture. The culture here is completely immersed in.
Richmond's got one of the deepest, thickest tattoo scenes in the world. You know, back in 1988, they had this tattoo club that actually met here in Richmond, and all the best of the best throughout the world came here specifically to meet, and they did tattoos on people around here. People saw those tattoos, and when they saw those tattoos, they wanted to get more tattoos, so they went to local tattoo shops. So we've got a really thick tattoo scene here. Tattoo Club ended in 1993, and then in 1993, this guy named Billy Eason started a tattoo convention, and that was thrown at the Koger Center. Now it's in its 27th year. The Richmond art scene is awesome, and that's one of the reasons it's been difficult for me to leave. And the only way that I would move anywhere else is if it had an art scene as thick as this. And there's very few places that do. I mean, we've got a great restaurant scene, we've got a great mural scene, we've got a great tattoo scene.
Being a smaller city where it's more compact, I think you notice tattoos, because I think it's, you know, the popularity is based on population, obviously per capita. So, you know, Richmond being smaller and more compact like that, it just seems like everyone has a tattoo. A lot of it has to do with VCU being such a large art school. You know, so you get that more eclectic feel, that more individual feel just from kids coming here that, you know, that are already artistically expressive and creative and stuff like that.
The way it worked for me is I saw it amongst other people when I moved here, and I fell in love with that idea of having a tattoo. So in that regard, yeah, it did influence me to get tattoos. But I chose it because I loved it and I wanted some to represent me.
There's a bunch of different angles on why people get tattooed. They get tattooed for a purpose, and they get tattooed for a memory and stuff like that. But then you've also got your people who get tattooed kind of like to collect art.
People get tattoos for different reasons, at different times in their lives, to kind of demarcate different spaces and different ways that they have wanted to decorate their bodies. There's a wide variety of points of time. It's a very personal decision. It's not something that is determined necessarily by outside structures. I really think that it has much more to do with the body as art and the body as decoration, and thinking about the body as a canvas.
So how you feeling, man?
A little bit nervous, but I'm ready to
What are we
do
getting
this.
done today?
I'm gonna get my arm finished up. I can't really take my coat off, but I'm gonna get everything that I haven't gotten colored in yet, including this clock and the snake and anything else he's willing to do for today. I don't know what he's willing to do, but that's always part of the fun. Yeah. Nervous because it's gonna hurt. It hurts. Oh, it hurts. Like, I don't know. People say that it doesn't hurt, but this hurts. It hurts. It hurts a lot to me, especially when it gets like up here. The elbow is gonna hurt. Like, here's gonna hurt a lot, and of course on the bone always hurts.
We're here, bro.
We're here.
So.
We're gonna go. Scared as We're gonna rock and roll. Let's go.
Good luck, bro.
I do mainly traditional, American traditional style tattooing. That's my favorite style of tattooing. So anytime that I'm given the artistic freedom to, someone comes to me and asks me to draw their idea how I would draw it, I'll usually push it in that direction. So I feel like you're going to get the strongest tattoo from me that way.
People from Richmond and VCU that have a lot of really artsy tattoos, and it kind of gets you like more accustomed to it, and then you want some, and it's cool because then you actually like want more once you get one.
It's inside my goal.
Thank you, man.
Oh man, he did a lot. He colored in the snake. He changed the head, scaled it, made it. You can't really see it because it's green and purple. He colored in the watch, made it gold. He did a lot of good shading there. He also reshaded the base blue, and retouched up my heart down here, and a couple other things. But I'm gonna hit him up soon, and I'm gonna get this top done. And then it'll be about close to complete this here sleeve of mine.
I think the perception of tattooed people has shifted substantially. I think one of the main reasons is because it's kind of found its way into the more pop culture. I also think the people who are collecting the tattoos aren't like the criminals and the bikers and stuff that used to be associated with tattooing.
I think we tend to say this with a lot of things, but like cell phones and stuff like that, like everything is so accessible now, and tattoos are no different. I mean, you open up your Instagram and you're probably going to have a sponsored ad for tattoos or something like that. You turn the television on at night, and there's probably 2 or 3 networks that have different shows about tattoos on.
We do more work at home, and we do more home at work, right? So some people are bringing their children to work, people are bringing their personal identities into work as well. And if that personal identity includes tattooing, then I think that there's going to be space created at work for that.
Nowadays in this culture, it's become accepted to the point that not everyone who has tattoos is somebody that's a bad person.
When I started tattooing in Richmond back in '99, there was no regulations whatsoever. And throughout the course of the past 20-ish years, they've started implementing a lot more rules. I'm actually on the board for the DP. I'm not on the board, but I'm one of the people that's helping shift the rules into a safer way for the public here in Richmond, and also for the artists as well.
We're very heavily regulated, and and it's a professional industry with standards, and so that also, it's safe. It's way safer now than it ever was before. So that, I think that will ultimately just increase the popularity in it. That you don't have to think twice about it.
Tattoos are like fashion. The trend will shift, and eventually that trend, tattoos will be around for a while, but the style of tattoos are going to shift.
Oh man, a couple hours later and a lot of ink and a little bit of pain, and the game is good,
And welcome back. We're here with the student producers of Ink City, Emily McNamara, Mo Shaza, and Isidro Alvarez. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Emily, let me start asking you, what was the biggest challenge of doing a documentary like on, this one, on this particular subject?
I think our greatest challenge that we faced was narrowing down who we wanted to put in it. So many people, when it comes to tattoos, are so passionate about what they're getting, because it's either a memory or something that they really love artistically. So they're very passionate when they were talking about it. One of our interviews lasted 45 minutes long, just to say that easily. So I think that was the biggest challenge, was finding the best sound bites and putting it together.
And then you have to go back all through that and
Yes.
figure out what you're going to use.
Which
and,
takes
yeah.
a long time to do, so that was difficult.
Yeah. Mo, did this topic, was this one you wanted to do from the beginning? Did it mean anything to you? Or?
At first, it was not like our first choice, but then we started brainstorming and talk about it more, and we thought that it would provide a lot of visual aspect to our viewers, so that's why we chose it.
Uh-huh. What did you find to be the biggest challenge in producing it?
I think the biggest challenge was just getting it down within a time limit of 10 minutes, because when we had the rough cut, it was about 30-something minutes, and just getting it down to 10 minutes, we had to sacrifice a lot of good quotes that we thought were worthy to be in the documentary, but I think at the end of the day, we sent the message across pretty well.
I think a lot of people are surprised when they find out how much ends up on the cutting room floor when you do something like this.
Right, yeah.
Excuse me. Isidro, what did you enjoy most about doing this documentary?
Well, I enjoyed, the creativity aspect of it. We got to explore a lot of the techniques that we don't normally get to use in short form. So it definitely gave us that creative outlet to explore that. I really enjoyed that, and my teammates did as well.
Did you all feel proud of the final product?
Yeah, I think we really enjoyed it. I really liked our human interest. We wanted it to be a documentary that was for the people, because we wanted to make tattoos seen in a good light, because that's kind of how they are now. People enjoy them for all sorts of reasons, as we showed in the documentary. So our human interest story, I think, was the best point.
How about the group collaboration? How did that work out?
Very well.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I think we were a great group.
Yeah, we're all different people.
Yeah,
so it's just
and we came together really well.
Kind of found a way to work together?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much to the producers behind Ink City, Emily McNamara, Mo Shaza, and Isidro Alvarez. And thanks for the colorful doc.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Dr. Oglesby, and all the documentary students. That does it for this edition of VCU In Depth. Thank you for joining us. I'm Sean Boyce.
And I'm Cassidy Hammond. For all of us here at VCU In Depth, good night.